before we start this video, can we just do like a massive shout out to the wife for cutting hair for the first time and actually looking half decent. Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. This video is going to be a little bit different because we are doing our own like DIY kind of car related thing, but more isolation based. So as you may have heard me mention in previous videos, at the minute my only source of driving, other than when I'm like driving to the hospital, which you'll have seen in my last video, is driving on the game console with a steering wheel. Now recently I've managed to get something called a Brook Super Converter. You can find them on eBay, Amazon. It converts the steering wheel I have, which is the Logitech Driving Force GT, which primarily is made for PlayStation 3 and it also works on PlayStation 2. Works on those effortlessly. I've had it for years, never put a foot wrong. Brilliant. Now it isn't compatible with PlayStation 4, but this converter tricks the PlayStation 4 into thinking that this wheel is actually a G29 Logitech wheel, which is the one that is compatible with the PlayStation 4. Now some games it works a bit weird, like on Dirt Rally 2.0 it kind of like wants to force itself back to the middle, like it's on a menu screen. But on GT Sport it actually works brilliantly. We being Logitech and like kind of a Gran Turismo designed wheel, I think that's kind of helped in its favour. The only problem is, at the minute I'm using just a fold out table. So when I'm driving I'm constantly like concentrating on trying to keep the table stable and everything, so I'm not putting in full force while steering. It's really low like on my lap, and the pedals aren't even like flat to the ground, they're like sat at an angle onto one of the sets of the legs on the fold out table, so I can't properly get into it and properly get like immersed in it. So what I've done is I took some very vague measurements on based on my computer chair that I've got upstairs, using that one, and we're going to try and build a rig for us to use. Two main things I need to try and combat with that is, if you've got loads of room and you've got a spare seat, you can make a decent rig that's all solid, all built in. You can even sometimes put a screen on it, but I ain't got that kind of room and I ain't got a spare seat. So it needs to be one that's sturdy enough to stand alone to put a chair up to it, and two, as a bonus, possibly try and make it collapsible. But with it being collapsible, you have to be careful because you might be trading structural integrity rather than like the versatility of it. But if we can make it collapsible and sturdy enough, then we're on to a winner. I've scanned God knows how many YouTube videos of people building loads of different rigs out of wood, which is what we're going to be doing, building out of wood, and I've kind of got a rough idea of what I'm going to do. Fingers crossed I've got all the tools and hardware that we're going to need, and let's just get started, shall we? Look at that. Weirdest cup of tea you've ever seen. At least no flies getting it. God, that's weak. Right, it's took me a while to get to this point, simply because I'm palm sanding each piece as I go along rather than building the full thing first. I'm test sizing it first and then sanding them, simply because then once it's fully built I won't have to disassemble it again to sand it, all the pieces individually. You can build this your own way if you want. I'm just mainly showing you the technique that I'm going for, or how I'm setting it up. But just for sake, if you did want to know, all these pieces of wood are 4.5 centimeters by 10 centimeters thickness. The two middle pieces of wood are 51 centimeter, and the two side pieces of wood are 75 centimeters. So that's where we're at. I've done a certain distance from the end here to this point here because this is where the pedals are going to mount. A lot of these are done where they're in a beam, or there is a beam, but it's just done on the pedals are on the floor, on the carpet, or on the wooden floor, whatever they've got. But I wanted my pedals at a slight slant, so these two beams are in here not only for structure but also to set up the pedals when I put a base on there. I'm thinking this kind of looks a bit wide, but that's going to be for two reasons. One, because I want it to be stable and I'm turning, so I want the weight distribution of me and the wheel to be on the inside of the structure. So all the folding mechanisms are going to be on the inside of these legs, not on the outside. But no matter what, this is going to be 100% like this. So I might as well just attach all of this section together, I think. I'm going to pilot hole first with a smaller drill bit so it doesn't split the wood, because there's a few splits in these here and there anyway, so I just want to make sure we minimise that. I don't have enough screws that are the same length as that one, so I'm making sure there's at least one of those longer screws in every beam, and then I'm just going to do a little inset about a third the way in, so then another smaller screw can go in the bottom half as well, just for extra structure. Lovely. I'll show that with everything else and then I'll show you it complete. Okay guys, so it's now actually the next day. We're getting late on and neighbours were like starting to like go out in the back gardens and have some food and drink with their families, so I didn't want to be like drilling and sawing into the evening, so I quickly did some more stuff before the next day came. I made sure all the base was together with all the screws in and everything like that. I got these wide thin planks of wood which were going to be a bit too wide, so I cut them directly down the middle in half. Bit of a rough cut, but it don't really matter because they're not going to be butting up against each other. These, they're going to be going on top of each other with a bolt through them, so it's absolutely fine. They're going to be the posts. I also found the biggest bolts and nut that I could find, and found they might still not be long enough to go through the base and through the arm as well. So what I did is I drilled the hole through a piece of wood that's the same width of the base piece of wood, and then like bored out the entrance of that hole a little bit so that I could pressure fit the head of the nut into the wood and then it'd keep it gripped, so then I can tighten a nut on the other side and it wouldn't spin. Plus then it gains me an extra centimetre or so of thread length. Measured all that up, that all looked okay. Then I got them planks of wood that I'd sawn in half and cut the ends off at angles a little bit, just so that when it does move around it's not catching the frame and it's not catching the floor. And then I just drilled a couple of holes in them as well just to see. And that's pretty much all we're at up to now. It is already midday because it was forecast rain today, but the 2 hours it said it was going to rain has already passed and it hasn't rained, so we're going to try and get everything back out and do as much as we can. Fingers crossed get it all done today before it actually starts raining again. Okay, so back outside, this is where we're at. This is the thing I was talking about earlier, where this is kind of a better explanation. So I drilled a hole to the size, to the width of the flat edges, the flat edge to flat edge diameter, and then what I basically did is, well, I did that hole to the depth of the head of the bolt and then lined it up and then just hammered it in, and then it kind of molds the wood to the shape of the bolt head, so that then when you're tightening up a nut on the other side, you don't need a wrench on one side and a wrench on the other. The wood grips the head of the bolt, plus then you get an extra few, you get about an extra centimetre or so. Not so much on that side, I don't know why, it must have been a shorter bolt. But then a washer on this side, a washer in between, and then that should move freely and we're all good. Another thing I've started is this centre panel here. That's literally just going to be for an extra bit of bracing. I didn't fancy screwing screws into the edge of this wood, so what I'm doing, I found these little brackets and I've measured so that the brackets fit inside of each beam. Did some pilot holes, put some screws in. Now I'm just going to mark it up a bit of a distance away from the bottom, but not too high up obviously because that's where the desk's going to be, and then pop some more screws in. Bob's your uncle. Right, it's made a change of plan. I haven't got enough bolts that, well, I don't have any that are long enough that's going to go through all the pieces of wood that I need it to make it collapsible. So at the minute I'm going to have to build it as a static rig that can't collapse. I'm going to do it, the screws at all the points that I would do to make it collapse, and at a later date when we can leave as houses, I'll probably go and try and buy some bolts that are long enough and then bore out the holes and use the bolts instead so it can collapse. But until then I'm just going to build it so that it stays upright and so it's usable, because the main thing is then I can use it during the lockdown period. That's pretty much what this is for. So yeah, we're just going to swap from bolts to screws and get it done.
Oh baby, uncontrollable fantasy inside of me. I've got to release myself. Don't want nobody else. No, ooh, boy, don't keep me waiting, 'cause I'm anticipating your love, your love, your love. Uncontrollable fantasy inside of me. I've got to release myself. Don't want nobody else. No, ooh, boy, don't keep me waiting, 'cause I'm anticipating your love. Your love, your love. Uncontrollable fantasies inside of me. I've got to release myself. Don't want nobody else. No, boy, don't keep me waiting, 'cause I'm anticipating your love, your love.
So then, finally, I can show you that this is now the new setup that we've got ready to use whilst we're stuck in here for any kind of PS4, sim racing, whatever, especially Gran Turismo, which this steering wheel does seem to work perfectly with, even with the adapter. As you can see, there's only a slight wobble from me shoving it, but you're not going to be shoving it side to side when you're racing, you're going to be turning it, and it's got resistance now because I'm on the pause menu. But if I unpause this, and let me just brake, because I'm in third gear, so I must be going somewhere. Put the handbrake on. There's still some resistance because the car's sat still. Obviously when the car's moving, there we go. This table is going nowhere. It's going nowhere with gear changes, it's going nowhere with pedals. Some of the things that I wanted to do, I didn't manage to do. Some things are like, for now, things that I've done, and I'll explain that for you now, basically. So I haven't had a chance to yet, because I need to use more than one piece of wood to do it, but I was going to use these two large pieces here to have a solid base to put the pedals on. At the minute, I've got this base that's on here, but the only thing keeping this base in place, if I kind of show you underneath, is I put like a groove underneath it with like a rasp file. So now, if I line this up, if I push this board forwards eventually, that hits into that groove and that board won't go anywhere. So none of my foot pressures will push it past that wall. I've just lifted it then, but obviously my pressure is not going to be down here, it's going to be up there. It doesn't move it anywhere. And because this is a painted surface, the rubber grips that are on these pedals stop them from going anywhere, which is what we want. Plus, obviously, with it being quite a large surface area, these can be adjusted forwards and backwards, because Francesca's had a go and she's a lot shorter than me, so pedals can come a little bit further down. But eventually I will put a couple of pieces of wood in here that are solid down. Underneath, we've just got these two mounts. I'd love to have built something like a big piece of wood here that I could nail the top piece to, and then have a bolt running through that piece of wood so that it can be adjustable tilts for different sized people. Because obviously what I want to do is, when this can collapse eventually, I want to put different holes in so that it can be put in at different heights. Obviously you change the height, you change the angle of the wheel, but at the minute this piece, the rest of it is not square. I've tried to do it as square as I can. You can see the distance there and the distance there is not the same, but this piece here is square forward, kind of, but it is a spirit level straight, and I mean spirit level that way and that way. It is a flat surface, so as long as it's sturdy and the surfaces that I'm using are the angles that I want, it's absolutely fine. Oh, and I didn't pilot hole that piece of wood on that side very well, so that's more what it's meant to look like on that side without the split wood. So a bolt through there instead of a screw, and eventually a bolt through there as well, so that I can adjust the angle. Once that's all done, technically this will be then collapsible, and that's what's great about the fact of, yeah, it has got screws holding it in a permanent place at the minute, but they'll be perfect guides to keep it set up as it is for when I put the bolts through, and then I can just remove the screws and it'll be collapsible. Perfect. So the design's there, it's just not finished, but it is finished enough to serve its purpose. So then, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a bit of an idea of something else to do if you want to, whilst if you're stuck in like I am at the minute. There's also technically proof that somebody with zero woodwork experience can build something somewhat useful. So it might give you the confidence to do something yourself in your garden, even if it ain't like a sim racing rig or whatever. You'll not know unless you give it a go. Did not mean to rhyme that. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy some online races against some other people. Talking about online racing against other people, I can't plug a mic into this. That's the only problem, because it's being an old generation wheel. But I might have found a way where I can record the videos on PS4 and get the video back and do a voiceover. So, if anybody think it'd be a good idea to join in like a subscriber, YouTuber, whatever, Gran Turismo race, that'd be pretty cool. Apologies if you don't have the game, but at least you can find possibly that entertaining to watch. But yeah, we can't all drive this cars about together in real life, so why not just do it on a game instead? Let me know in the comments if you think that would be a good idea, or if it's something you want to watch even if you can't get involved. And if you want to see what I'm doing between all these points, when I am actually getting the motivation to film something and edit videos at the minute, because I think you can relate. Some days you wake up and then it feels like it's night time again and it's all just blurring into one. So let's try and keep positive and keep motivated and talk to each other and motivate each other. And if you want to see what I'm doing between videos, you can go on my Instagram or my Facebook page, which I'll post what I'm doing on both of those. And when I'm in a funny mood and I want to do something a bit silly, I have now got a TikTok if you want to go and join that. I never liked the idea of TikTok, and now I've just fallen down the rabbit hole of the comedy that can be potentially made and seen. So I've given it a go. Go and have a look and see me being stupid for a little bit, even if it brightens your day up for about 10 seconds. Thank you all for watching, and please like and subscribe if you do enjoy any of the videos on this channel, and click the little bell button so it reminds you when a fresh video does come on so you don't miss out. I'm going to keep practicing, and until next time guys, like I always say, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.